to NetApp On Air Snapshot, coming to you live from the expo floor right here at the MGM in Las Vegas for Insight 2024. That's it, folks. Oh, but it's not. We're still here. We're still here for the next 2 hours. We're going to be breaking down everything that you heard and really even looking back over the last 3 days in total of everything that we've learned from Insight 2024. We have lots of great conversations from partners, from customers, and from some of our NetApp employees here. And Drew and I are going to do a special little roundup for the community here for you guys right at the end. So stay tuned, smash that like button. And hey, if you're watching on NetApp.com, come join us and bring your questions, if you have them, over to YouTube, the NetApp YouTube channel. We got the live chat is open. You can ask any questions to any of our guests today or ourselves, and we'll get those questions answered for you. Reminders, yes, the expo, if you're here today, is closing up. This is it. This is the last day of Insight. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us throughout the show. This has been a fun little experiment that we tried, and everybody seems to love it, so we're going to continue to keep doing it going forward in the future. If you were here and you got your community party t-shirt, thank you so much for coming to the first ever community warm-up party here at Insight 2024. Again, another great thing that happened for the first time this year, and got rave reviews, and everybody seemed to really enjoy it. So we got some big ideas for next year. Hardware Universe posters are back. In case you missed the show yesterday where I unfurled one for the first time, we've been working on those all summer to get them right for you, and you can get those. If you're not here at the show, you can get those now on the NetApp Gear Store for about, I think, $5 or $6, if I'm not mistaken, shipped directly to you. If you are here at the show, just come down to the expo floor, and there are places where you can find them for free in the product pavilion. Big lineup of guests today. We have a lot to go over. We have demos to talk about that happened during the keynote. We have more AI conversations from Hoseb and Matt Hull from NVIDIA. Lots of stuff to break down as we go through Snapshot today, recapping everything that we've heard, not only today, but of the other two keynotes as well. I think it's all going to come together in one greater picture. There's something we haven't really talked about quite yet, though, and I thought we should open the show with it today. You may have heard Keystone mentioned a few times, and some of you out there may or may not be familiar with what Keystone is, but we're going to solve that for you right now. I would like to welcome my guests starting off the show today. We're doing a duo for you to kick things off. Mr. Glenn Dekhayser and David Rodriguez, thank you so much for joining the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nick.
So, Glenn, you're at Equinix. Both of you, by the way, longtime A-Team members, I assume?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So, Glenn, you and I go back a ways. You're at Equinix now. Why don't you give a little bit of background on what you're doing over at Equinix for us?
So my title is Global Principal. What I do at Equinix is advise the business globally on all matters storage. I also get to leverage my 25 years of channel experience, right? So as Equinix it takes a stronger place, let's just say, in the world of technology, a more active role in creating new ways of doing AI and data storage and basically creating hybrid multi-cloud outcomes, right? In ways that turns out we can do. These consumption models have to evolve as well to meet the needs of what the customers are looking for. So I advise the business on that, and I get to talk to all sorts of customers and partners, and it's a great job, I'll tell you.
Yeah, fantastic. And David, how about yourself? I understand you're a customer of Glenn's, of Equinix's, based out of Australia, is that right?
From Sydney, Australia. So I work for a company called Nexon Asia Pacific, down in Sydney. And we have all of our infrastructure over in Equinix, so in multiple sites there, different states. Been using NetApp since about 7 mode.
Nice.
Yeah.
So at least before 2012.
Yeah, exactly. So quite some time. It's been great. Love the partnership there and everything like that. And we've just recently, I would say, was it end of last year, transitioned across over to Keystone, which has been great.
So if I can ask, what was the sort of driving force that before you even made the decision, what made you curious about it initially? Yeah,
so the curiosity was basically taking some time off the team and having another team, an extension of our team really on the side, and then also just going from that OpEx to CapEx model change as well. So that was the big driver. And one of the things, being techie at heart, was that I really liked that we got all the latest hardware come in, and then at the refresh cycles, Keystone would take care of all of that. So if there was a need to change any of that hardware out, due to some type of IOPS increase or demand, then they would take care of all of that. So we could kind of work alongside them, but we're not in the nitty-gritty of it.
Gotcha. So how do upgrades and refreshes work? Glenn, if you want to take this one, when somebody comes through, or let's say we launch a new system like we have this week, or new disks arrive, or a customer needs to increase capacity or something like that, with Keystone in a kind of a storage as a service mentality, how exactly do upgrades work like that?
Well, the cool thing is that you're not dealing in the same units of measure and units of administration and operation that you used to. If your life is built around, the 3-year refresh cycle or 5-year refresh cycle, whatever you do, and you're constantly worrying about moving data around and thinking about the next model and working at those base constructs, the good news is that can end, because what you're getting with Keystone is service levels. How much capacity of a performance tier are you going to use? NetApp is going to make sure that you've got capacity above that to burst into when you need, and then as you grow, that moves along with you, and as you need more performance, NetApp is going to handle all of that in the back end non-disruptively. And of course, NetApp can do this with ONTAP, having the non-disruptive upgrades, which you've always, well, not always, but have had for a quite long time. You're very experienced with it, and have now automated, especially with the new stuff in Blue XP, which is taking some of the ActiveIQ stuff and moving it in. So it's going to become a non-issue, and you're just going to consume that storage. Your applications will be happy, your users will be happy, and if that doesn't make you happy, I'm not quite sure why you're in this business.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more than what you would consider like traditional remote hands in a way in a colo facility, for example. Like, you guys are really white glove taking care of just about everything, and customers like David can just pay their monthly bill. Is it that simple?
Well, there's a couple different ways, right? So our colo customers, right, that like David's doing, like you can have your Keystone dropped into your Equinix or your data center, even your own data center, dropped in and in the rest within the rest of your infrastructure. Great, right? And so that's one way to consume Keystone. There's also new paradigms on this, by the way. So, like, we don't call this Keystone out there, but that same paradigm from NetApp is available, for instance, on the NetApp on Equinix metal, which allows you to deploy NetApp in an as-a-service 30 metros globally, right? So, but it's the same performance tier and consumable model where you're not worrying about the disruptions. You're not worried about any of this stuff. It's delivered as a service, and it brings a completely different mode of thinking to how you're dealing with storage, because now you can focus on the upper level outcomes and what do you need from your storage. Don't worry about how the storage is delivering it from a specific configuration. It just takes so much overhead off of it and just gets you. And so when I found, I didn't even know, by the way, he was a customer until he told me.
Well, it was a happy coincidence when we
thank
were.
you, by the way, I appreciate that.
When we were putting the show together, it ended up being a happy coincidence that I wanted to find a spot for you both, and I went, wait.
Worked out well.
Right,
Yeah.
Worked out. David, I'm curious to hear from like the customer side perspective.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got the service that Equinix provides, but did it satisfy everything you were sort of looking for, and Nexus was looking for when you guys were seeking out a storage as a service solution?
Yeah, I think it was. And one thing that was really interesting was when the team came in and did an evaluation of our workloads. And I think, as you mentioned, the QoS levels and everything like that, and just having a look to see, do we really need platinum level storage for certain workloads? We could right-size a lot of that thing. So that was quite interesting from a tech perspective. And so now we've got all of our QoS levels set and everything like that. They're very adjustable as well. So if we need to move in between those levels, it's really a flick of a switch.
How did you go about evaluating that initially, if you wouldn't mind? Because we have a fairly technical audience here. Just give us a little bit of background on how you go about evaluating which service level to choose.
Yeah, so I believe a lot of it was done by the NetApp team. I believe they used Cloud Insights.
Nice.
Yeah, and heavily on OCI.
Ooh,
nice.
Yeah, as well. So they were really able to break down the IOP level, and then get right down into the detail there and be able to sort out those workloads.
And 2 thumbs up, pretty accurate. They get it right on the first run.
Yeah, really accurate. I just love that you can adjust that, because if a workload does die off in the future, you can just change the QoS level and away it goes. So and then that adjusts on the billing as well. So,
really nice.
The next
really
time
nice.
the collector comes in, has a look at your data, what's being used, that's adjusted.
So Glenn, do you guys have anything coming up as far as any announcements or anything, any new services, anything that, give me the pitch right now of like what's going on at Equinix?
Right now, the NetApp and Equinix metal is really the kind of the new paradigm of how you can get this technology deployed globally, right, without having to touch it, but getting all the benefits that David's talking about, right? Everything that's inside that NetApp is completely available. As low down as you want to get, you have access to that box to do what you need to, but you also get compute right with that, right? That's bare metal stuff, right? But almost as important is where that goes, right? And one of the things that David's company enjoys, because I think you're in Sydney, you said, right?
Yeah.
So, and we're located kind of at the pivot point of the hybrid multi-cloud, right? So all of the wonderful things that BlueXP can do with data motion to all the different clouds, right? Imagine having that set of data, your core set of data, right on a Keystone provided appliance. And from there, you can launch that data like military power quickly where you need it in any cloud or as a service, because Equinix is a place that, that's what we specialize in, is agile interconnection to all of these places. So we give that NetApp, data, we used to call it data fabric, right? I mean, we don't say it as much anymore, but, that what NetApp does best, we supercharge that, because you guys at a Ferrari, we're the track. We're the one that gets you all the exit on-ramps to where you want to go.
Yeah.
So customers can take that data, go do what they want to do, get in and out, and all that value of fail fast, doing your whatever in the cloud, moving to as a service, bringing other gear to close to that data. That Keystone data in there, that's the core of the value. That's your business right there. So being able to do that, whether it's in co-location with we'll call it a standard Keystone deployment,
right,
or whether you're doing it with our metal service, right? The outcome is there for customers to kind of exploit. And what I'm looking forward to is to see how customers are going to do stuff with this, because NetApp never gets you all the way to the outcome. They're giving you the keys to the car. Where you want to go, that's up to you. You got to learn how to drive. But once you know how to drive, man.
Well, we've got some pretty good GPS too that helps people get to where they want to go at this point.
Yeah, you guys do a really good job of doing that outcome research and development, and the stuff you were showing in the last keynote was pretty incredible.
Yeah. So, David, what are some of the things that you guys are working on that maybe storage as a service has helped you take advantage of? I always hear, just for example, that not having to have that operational overhead of maintaining stuff constantly like that and constantly refreshing frees up cycles, frees up hours and time for people to actually go build cool stuff.
Yeah.
So have you guys experienced anything like that?
Yeah, so just touching on that point, like with the upgrades are super easy to do, really easy. There is preparation beforehand, so that takes a lot of time. So now that's all offloaded onto the Keystone team, and they do a phenomenal job. They're all highly skilled. We can talk the same language, and they understand everything like that. So now that frees up a lot of time just to work on automation, scripting, things like that. And then also we have a lab, we have a FlexPod lab, which basically is the same as our production environment. So we do a lot of testing on that before going into production. So yeah, really automation.
Although I'd be remiss if we didn't add in the latest updates in BlueXP and ActiveIQ, right? Because now all the stuff that he just talked about has been automated even further to let you do all that without even thinking about it. Now, I'm still wondering how many people are going to do that in production, but like everything else, as more customers do it, more people will have faith in it, and you're going to see a lot of customers in production. All the remediation is going to be done for you automatically. I thought that was a really cool thing in one of the sessions I saw on day one.
Yeah, I'm interested to see some of the details as well around how we're going to allow people to manage Keystone and stuff like that externally from traditional storage systems or our first-party cloud storage solutions. I think those are absolutely going to be game changers for people, especially when it comes to storage as a service. We've got a lot of things to do with sovereignty, especially in the EU. I'm not sure how that really runs in Australia, but is that something you guys run into? Do you run into sovereignty issues over there?
Yeah, from time to time. I really love the classification being introduced into BlueXP, so we'll be looking at that quite heavily. And that leads me back to that lab, lab instance with BlueXP. anti-ransomware, all of these kind of things. So this is stuff that we now get time to test instead of concentrating on things that Keystone team are doing now. So
Nice.
it's been great. Yeah.
Nice.
Sovereignty is something that we see a lot at Equinix, right? And so in the context of NetApp, like, for instance, let's say you have a Keystone or any ONTAP in Vancouver, like in Colo, and you also have it, let's just say, in, I don't know, Montreal. And Canada, if you're a compliant organization, you need to make sure that if you're replicating between those two, that those packets don't go out of Canada. That's actually, in some cases, a legal
That's a real
requirement.
rule.
It's a real rule. So Equinix, so we've got, we think about these things. So we have this thing called Equinix Fabric. It's pretty popular. Everybody knows about it. It's kind of the thing that, people think, oh, that's the cloud on-ramp thing. Well, it's a lot more than that, because it also connects customers to themselves, right? Regionally, globally, you can create these IP WANs. You can do some pretty cool stuff with it, right? But one of the features of it in certain territories is the ability to ensure that my connection from Vancouver to Montreal never dips below the border. And and that's just an option that you can select when you're creating these connections, and it takes you 10 minutes to do the whole thing, right?
Wow.
To get Vancouver. I mean, imagine how long it used to take. Oh, I got to set up my NSP and get a T1 between Vancouver. I'm aging myself. A T1 between Vancouver and Montreal through one of the Bell Canada or one of those other guys, right? You'd be packing a few lunches and maybe going on vacation and coming back, and hopefully it'd be done. Not 10 minutes, it's done. And that's global. We can do that from Vancouver to Singapore, same time. So, but the sovereignty thing is kind of, we're seeing a lot more of that for obvious reasons that we're not all happy about.
We seem to have more regulations popping up. In recent years, obviously everybody knows about GDPR. We've had the CCPA out of California, and I think we're only going to get more of those, specifically when we start getting into some of these AI-based solutions. I think a lot of the data that it's going to be crunching, I think it's almost you're going to build sovereignty into some of that stuff as well, because you just don't want to turn AI loose and go scan everything. I mean, sometimes you might want to.
It could be an interesting thing when you have, paired with your data classification capabilities, right?
Yeah.
To be able to say, okay, someone tries to create a SnapMare from this location to this location, but it's been classified as this kind of data, and something stops you from doing that because you'd be violating some code. That would be awesome to see. And there's nothing to stop somebody from doing that. The building blocks are there.
Yeah. And it would be cool to see, if you could build AI into some of that stuff where it knew about boundaries, it knew about what data it could get and couldn't get based on some of those regulations around the world.
So this is going to require something that I hope to see, and I'm personally working on, is to see data like volumes understand where they are and where they can connect to, and how. Right? We don't do that today, but I would love to see the industry move towards something like that. So, because once data can understand where it is and what it can, where it can move, where it can be used, and I think we're going to have to get there. People are still going to be able to get themselves in trouble.
Yeah.
And I think tagging, fundamental things like that could help. If you wanted to point a training instance at it or something like that, it could scan the tags to see, should I include that in my training, right?
Yeah.
David, back to you. Like, tell us about some of the cool projects you guys are working on that's, maybe storage as a service and Keystone have helped proliferate.
Yeah, so we run our own private cloud for customers. So we offer that. It's predominantly based on VMware. And then we also offer customers also private pods as well. So it's all based on the same FlexPod architecture with NetApp and everything like that. And so we're working on that at the moment with the Broadcom announcement and everything like this. We're navigating that space. And so that's been quite interesting. Some of it's not as bad as what we thought. And so we're just adjusting to that at the moment. And so I think like a lot of other companies and teams around, they are evaluating other hypervisors as well, just to see.
Seems to be a theme of 2024 is that we're seeing evaluation of it. We are Switzerland in that respect. We want to play with everybody, and we're nice with everybody as far as that's concerned. But at the end of the day, I think companies really have to make some tough decisions. We're going to be talking about virtualization in a little bit. Teaser for you guys out there.
Nice.
Any final thoughts, guys? Like, what should everybody know about Keystone? Like, if you had to give everybody one, if somebody's on the fence, what's the way that you would kind of push them over the edge and tell them to give it a try?
It makes the overall NetApp life simpler, and you're focusing on the right things, outcomes, your users, right? your applications, and you're getting out of having to think about the things that management hates, which is having to deal with these refreshes, physically wasting your resources on just things that you're not in that's not your business. Like if you are an insurance company, you are not a storage company, right? So why focus your efforts on becoming great at that? You've got people that you can rely on. You've got economics you can rely on. It's not cloud, but it gives you all the best things about cloud, but giving you all, of course, the best things about having a physical infrastructure that gives you all the performance and configurability that you need.
So a bit of best of the both worlds.
Of all worlds.
Of all worlds. Wow.
Well, because we're a world too.
Yeah. So David, over to you. Same question. You've got a peer that's on the fence, a peer company, somebody that's a friend in the industry.
Yeah.
What would you say to them to be, reassure them that, taking the step to go into rather than buying a 3-year refresh type of cycle, maybe taking advantage of Equinix Metal and a storage as a service offering with Keystone as an alternative to what you would traditionally do?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the company, and do you want your team spending time on kind of I wouldn't say low value tasks, but I would almost low value tasks. So going next, and then putting a value onto that, as opposed to doing something to generate maybe better revenue for the company. Mm-hmm. And so there's that, and then and just the time, the overall happiness of the team. I think when you've got like a extension of your team, which I mentioned on previously, where you can just talk to. You're talking on the same level, and you just get these guys coming in. They come on site for you. The monitoring is next level as well. It's really really good there. And so we get they alert us usually, and then we work in conjunction with them. So yeah, I think it just really comes down to: do you want your team to do these kind of low value tasks, or do you want them to do something a little bit more valuable to the company? And then just do it.
just take the plunge.
Just take the plunge. Yeah.
Well, awesome, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. This has been awesome. I think if anybody's out there looking at Keystone as an alternative, I think this is something that you should really look at Equinix. Look at Equinix Metal with NetApp. I think it's a great solution. You get to work with great guys like Glenn, and we have some great customers, mutual customers like David. Take the plunge, take the step, do the demo, do the POC. I think you'd be surprised with how easy it actually is. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
All right, guys. So if you haven't had the chance yet, you really need to kick the tires on Keystone, because at the end of the day, it is one of those situations where you really have to evaluate where your time should be spent. And it's one of those things where, do you spend your time and your staff's money and energy on having them swap disks, having them rack and stack new gear, all kinds of stuff like that? Or do you want to have them spend their time building cool solutions, connecting AI to multiple data sources, all of that kind of stuff? I think the answer is pretty clear. I think with the movement of managed services that we've had over, say, the last decade, the more we get into that kind of stuff, the more we've figured out how to leverage managed services in that way, but also continue to own the gear and have that governance over the data that might live on that situation. So Keystone is awesome. It's a different way to buy managed storage, basically, from our partners like Equinix via Equinix Metal. All right, moving on. It's day 3, and we're still talking about AI. So we've still got to talk about some AI stuff here. So at the end of the day, we small little technical adjustment here. We've been talking about AI all week here at Insight. It is the hot topic of everything. Okay. And so I had to go get one of my bosses who just came fresh off the keynote stage to talk to us about the demo that we saw, because I have so many questions about this demo that I couldn't think of any other way than just have him on here. So welcome to the show, Mr. Jonsi Stefansson. How you doing, man?
Hey, how are you, brother?
I'm doing good. That was an impressive demo.
Yeah, I think demo. It was literally 15 demos in 5 minutes.
I was watching. I was trying to keep up. There were all the cloud providers. I saw Red Hat OpenShift. I saw InstaCluster. I was trying to keep just
BlueXP,
Domino,
was
in there, obviously.
Dremio, Kubeflow, PyTorch, and Feast. So, yeah, I mean, I mean, like we've talked about, Nick, all the time. I mean, the ecosystem is critical to the success of AI for any company in the world.
Yeah.
And you know how many engineers like yourselves we have working with these deeply coupled integrations, and it's been a beautiful collaboration with all of them. And the Domino team, the Dremio team, we have another one that is super impressive called Data Neuron. So there's so many cool, you know. I get, as a serial entrepreneur, I get like goosebumps seeing every one of those cool startups popping up left and right when it comes to the AI ecosystem and, you know, MLOps, AIOps, you know, data, you know, sort of organizations, data transformers, you know, it's all coming to life now, and we just want to be wherever, you know, the practitioners are going to be.
I tried to get, unfortunately he's not with us, I tried to get Mike Oglesby to come on and talk about some of those tools and things like that. I'm going to catch up with him after the show this week and maybe have him on for another episode. He was just on a few months ago. There's so many new tools that are out there, like some of the ones that you were rattling off. Some open source, some not. Some like sort of based in the cloud, and some are you run them on your own thing. The thing that stood out to me was there are so many moving parts. It reminded me of the early days of like the Kubernetes landscape from 10 years ago. Are we going to be, is it going to be that level of madness all over again with all of the tools sort of going all in different directions? Or do you kind of envision it being more concentrated and consolidated into a few select ones?
Honestly, I hope not.
Yeah.
You know, I love the chaos a little bit. Because, I mean, there are tools that fit, you know, specific use cases that the data scientists and the data engineers are looking for. There is not going to be this one fit that rules them all, you know. So I'm really hoping for that next, you know, startup sprawl around AI.
Yeah.
And you know, machine learning is you know, is back with a vengeance. You know, I mean, we've been using machine learning, like building our intelligent infrastructure, like data infrastructure for many, many years.
My phone has a neural network in it.
Yeah, precisely.
With ML models.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been doing it for years. But, you know, it's how the journey of the AI is. You know, whether you're training a model, you're inferencing, you are using RAG, you're fine-tuning, you know. But one thing that I think is crystal clear is that AI is going to be hybrid forever.
Yes, I think you're right. I feel like this is going to be a boom. I feel like we're on the cusp of this really being like ChatGPT a couple years ago really kicked it into gear. One of the questions that I asked someone else on Monday after the keynote, Monday evening, was we've seen the consumer side of this really start to influence how it gets brought into the enterprise.
Yes.
And we've seen this with other things before, like bring your own devices and other types of virtual desktops and things like that. How do you feel like that end users that are doing this on their phones or using Copilot in Office 365, for example, how is that going to affect and drive implementation in enterprise applications, in your opinion?
Honestly, with you know, natural language models, you know, nerds like you and me, we can basically start talking to our staff. I can literally say, here's the aggregate that I want, here's the performance levels that I need, here's what I go and configure it. And it will literally just go and configure it. So it means it's kind of like we might be going out of a job soon because, you know, it's actually all going to be automated. But I mean, this is, you know, the simplicity that this brings to the table, especially when, and like you've seen like the plethora of web apps that are being developed by speech. Yeah. Like this, just a description of what you want, and it actually builds it for you. Yes, it's simple web apps today, and it's flaky as shit. Sorry.
It's YouTube, it's fine.
Okay. But it's really flaky.
Yeah.
You know, and we know that. So you actually have to go in with your development skills and fine-tune it.
Yeah.
You know, and weed out all the bugs and everything. But, you know, with time, this is actually going to take over. And one of the things that I think this is actually going to bring to in the future is, you know, anybody can have an awesome startup idea, but they maybe struggle with being able to create that prototype. Imagine having like somebody, like any random with no technical background, no development skills, can actually start to describe what he wants to build. And yes, it's going to be flaky and buggy, but he can still prove out his theory with that, you know, natural language, you know, speaking to and speaking code into existence. So I think that's a very exciting future.
To your point, I saw a demo the other day of a developer who was trying to prove a point.
Yeah.
He completely removed his keyboard from his machine and was only using a microphone and was prompting. And he started with a complete blank slate in his IDE. And he said, here's what I want. It wrote it out. He told it to check its work. And it went through and it found like 3 bugs and corrected them. And then he told him to document the code. And it spit out, and then he said, launch the prototype, and it pulled up the web app. And in 5 minutes?
Granted, it was a very simple web app.
Sure.
So very, very simple.
But to show the art of the possible, right?
Precisely. And that really excites me. I mean, even though, you still need to have that development background in order to make it, you know, pitch perfect. But you know, the possibilities of anybody can come up with the next great startup without having to have that background, or have to outsource or ask people or give away portion of their company to a developer that because he didn't have the skill set. It's a threat, you know, to us. But it's a beautiful thing, you know. You don't even need, you know, if you have a phone, you could literally do it today. You know, very simple. But going forward, you're basically just speaking to your microphone on the phone, and hey ho, let's go.
Well, I see. So for people like me specifically, I will openly admit I am not a coder. I do not sit at an idea. I can write enough VB script and PowerShell to be dangerous, but basically that's there to automate the deployment of infrastructure.
Precisely.
And that was what drove me to learn that kind of stuff. So I understand how to a sort of an order of operations of how to do something. So if I can tell a GPT model to via NLP, just I know exactly, here are my recs, and here's the order I want you to do them in. And it just pounds them all. Like, it's invaluable for whether it's creating content, checking grammar and spelling, some of the simplest stuff in education. It's going to be monumentally groundbreaking.
Okay, I'm going to be a little bit controversial now.
Okay.
You know, I have kids in school here in the States, and I have kids in school in Iceland, the older ones and stuff. It's making me furious how the education system is refusing to accept this and learn how to live with this.
Agreed.
Teach our kids, you know, the future and what's coming and how to take advantage of tools like this. Don't kick them out of school for using this.
Right.
You know, that's just idiotic. And the education system, step up and know that you are going to be forced to reckon with this. Reckon with, you know, or die. Nobody's going to go to school anymore if you're actually taking away the most powerful educational tool ever existed. You know, it's driving me nuts. I know it's very controversial, but
it's not, though, because it's history repeating itself. We went through the exact same thing in the late 90s with the internet, the mid-90s, I would say.
Google.
I was a freshman in college, dating myself, in 1995. There were rules about what you could use the internet for.
I remember.
So something as trivial as a search engine or an Encyclopedia Britannica online or whatever, Microsoft Encyclopedia. Like, we were prohibited from using that. We had to go to the library and pull our books out. It's the same thing 20 to 30 years later now, where we're seeing, okay, well, not only will it look it up for you, it'll also sort of notate it and write it down for you. That is not preventing a child from learning anything.
No.
They are just learning a different kind of skill.
Absolutely.
Right?
Just teach critical thinking.
Right, instead of bland memorization. Right.
Like,
I completely agree with you. I love this conversation.
Maybe we have to cut this out, or
So I wanted to. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because I had seen a teaser of your demo before the keynote today. I think it was last week.
You're on our team, so of course you did.
The thing I wanted to ask you was, with the number of tools and everything that were in there, do we have the way to sort of streamline a lot of that work? I know we've got BlueXP and InstaCluster, and we have various tools that do that.
Yeah.
Most of the others were integration points that we could go out to other providers or solutions. But can we do any work ourselves to streamline that a little bit more and bring it together?
I love that question, Nick. And if Naveen was sitting here right next to me, and I think you should definitely have him on.
Yep.
I mean, this is the vision for BlueXP, to become that extensible API proxy to all of our services. Then the integration is through a single point, not to multiple different products. And this is where Naveen and Chris and Gagan and everybody is sort of going for. And once we have that, imagine with all the first-party services and everything that we have, how much easier it is to do those integrations. And integrations with all the ISVs that we are currently working with. And once we get that, everything becomes easier and everything becomes way more streamlined. Were you checking if Naveen was going to be on?
Well, I was trying to see, can I get Naveen on here? No, I'm not sure we have room today, but I definitely will commit. I'm going to write a little note for myself here that to make sure that we have them on a follow-up episode for sure. Any last thoughts of... We're closing out Insight for 2024. Today's day 3. We've talked a lot about AI this week. However, I think we're equally excited about things that have gotten us here. When you first joined back in 2016, it was a different kind of time. Like, we were first getting into cloud ventures. We had been talking about data fabric a little bit as an idea of maybe we can do this kind of stuff. And over the last almost 10 years now, we've really just built all of this stuff. And we've put it all into practice. So we've laid the foundation of the house, and now we've got to start putting some doors and windows on that house to allow people to come in and use the stuff in different ways. I see this now as a bigger vision of that, just as it's evolved. But it's fundamentally, it's kind of the same thing. We just need to make it easier to access and use.
Yeah, I mean, conceptually, it is still the data fabric.
Yeah.
And what the data fabric stood for. The issue, however, even though it's all, we have always had a different view of what the data fabric is compared to the likes of Gartner or all the analysts.
Yeah.
So we kind of have to abide by that and more talk about, how that this, in a sense, Nick, the data fabric concept has become the intelligent data infrastructure.
Totally.
That's literally what's happening. And one thing that I don't think people realize, outside of NetApp, is how the innovation has... Sorry, got him full. Forgot to put on Do Not Disturb. So, what people don't realize is the fact that ONTAP, as an operating system, has actually morphed into ONTAP, an extensible platform.
Yeah.
You can see the acquisitions that we've made that used to be the DataSense product that we had. Now that's finding its way into the ONTAP platform. Becoming a core with governance and compliancy, everything sort of built in. Instead of selling it, it's part of that ONTAP platform.
Yeah.
The data catalog, the data explorer, the classifications, everything is coming together into that platform. So, can I ask you one question?
Please.
How excited are you about the disaggregated ONTAP?
Jonsi, there were times, just a quick
because
little anecdote.
We've talked about it in the past, that we needed that scale-out capability and being able to scale capacity and performance
separately.
Sorry.
Just to do it separately, and to take it even one step further, I can go back to conversations that I had in 2011 or 2012, where it was wouldn't it be cool if we could run a virtual machine? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be cool if we could run containers? A couple years later when Docker came around. what if we could disaggregate it and use the compute in any ways that we saw fit, and do that in ways that you might want to stack 10 A1Ks for a small level of storage just to really crunch it, or vice versa, have a giant, pool of data that you could just need a couple of controllers for. That has been something that we've been waiting for a long, long time for, and it's kind of the decoupling of the HA pair construct
100%.
that is going to be a game changer. And I think this has been a journey that we've been on this whole time, and I think the C-Series stuff last year led to ASA in the summer, and then it led to the new A-Series launches and the A1Ks with the all-new modular architectures and the modern hardware stuff, components that are inside of it. And it all just sort of starts to come together as this big story. And I think to your point, where we stop talking about infrastructure with data fabric, and we start talking about data management and data utilization with intelligent data infrastructure, is where that's the inflection point for me.
I don't know if it actually comes through the on YouTube, but there's this sparkle in Nick's eye when he actually starts talking about it. It's actually hilarious. He's always at it.
Jonsi, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a busy man. You got to go, man. And
thank you. I really appreciate all the work you do for us, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, that was Jonsi Stefansson. That's my boss. We love him. We're moving right along here. The keynote ended a little bit early, so we're shuffling schedules around, so bear with us as we get through this. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. In case you're watching this later, I'm sure you're going to get to see all of this stuff, too, on demand on YouTube. So Jonsi laid out a lot of stuff about, and we were just talking about how we've kind of gone from infrastructure management, keep hitting these microphones, gone from infrastructure management to data management. Well, one of the most important things that has also evolved underneath the covers of that is the ability to monitor, keep track of, alert on, all of these things, everything to do with your infrastructure and everything to do with your data. And we've had this gentleman, our next guest, on before, here on NetApp On Air. You can find his previous episode right here on the YouTube channel. His name's Bergh Albertson, and joining us on the show. Thank you so much, Bergh.
Thank you for having me, Nick. I really appreciate it.
So, recap for us, what is it you would say you do here?
They tell me I'm a technical marketing engineer for ActiveIQ, BlueXP. I also represent Fusion, our sizing tool, but that's not available to customers, and some other tools like Hardware Universe and IMT. So.
Well, you mentioned Hardware Universe, so very excited about the new posters that have come out.
Yes,
we're gonna tout those all throughout the show today, guys.
Yes, we have posters for those not here at the conference. They're available on the NetApp Gear Store for purchase for a nominal amount of money. They will also be published on the Hardware Universe website, the image, so that you can get it printed at your local print shop if you want. And I think Nick's about to showcase the beautiful poster.
Let's unfurl. For those that didn't get to see it yesterday.
Yeah. This is the first time we've made one in 5 years.
I know.
Back from the dead, the Hardware Universe
We really
poster.
tried to bring it back. For those at home that may not know, we really tried to bring it back in 2020. And I spent some time with Wayne.
Yep.
We were going to do some fun stuff like a Data Center Dude edition. Yep. We were going to do give it and sell it for charity and stuff like that. We were going to do all. For some reason, it just never could. We never could get it over the hump.
And a big shout out to Wayne Mueller for helping design it, and George Pamboros for helping to fund it.
Yes.
Thank
you for money, George. And thank you, Wayne, for always pushing it and seeing it through.
Yep.
Really good heated debates we had over the summer about what should and shouldn't go on the poster. And we kept that true to the hardware geeks out there. So you guys are going to love the new poster. I can remember having one hanging in my cubicle in 2007 as a customer.
Yep.
So let's talk. So coming off the conversation with Jonsi, I really want to go back to give people a rundown in case they're familiar real quick. Like, what does ActiveIQ do for them, and what does it do for us as well?
So ActiveIQ is based on customers' telemetry data, and what it really does is allow you to manage and monitor and report on and even support your infrastructure, and it works across your entire fleet. So one of the big advantages of ActiveIQ, it's not tied to a certain platform, so it can run, and it's automatically on. When you install your system, whether you're installing an E-Series, a storage grid, or an ONTAP, on-prem or CVO, it's auto on. So as long as you allow the network to allow the traffic to get to NetApp, ActiveIQ is there for you. The other thing that's great is is that we have the business knowledge of what systems belong to who. So when you log into our portal, you automatically get to see your inventory. You know, a lot of tools, you have to install something to either collect data, and a lot of tools, you basically start with a blank canvas and you have to add your inventory and discover it. You don't have to do that with ActiveIQ. The day you buy something from NetApp, it'll appear in your inventory and be there for you automatically.
I think that's fantastic. I love having the access to the inventory, my serial numbers, my licenses, any auto support logs, the history that I want to look through. Like, all of that stuff is valuable as an end user. Switch gears for me.
Yep.
How do we use this data?
So the way NetApp uses the data is we actually mine the data for product management reasons, for one thing. So we try to see which features are really being used by customers. So for example, you saw on the main stage, they said that ARP is one of our fastest growing features. How do they know that? Autosport data is how they know it. Otherwise, how would we know how many volumes it's turned on for? We wouldn't. So things like that are invaluable for us as a company. The other thing we use it for is we know when systems are coming to their end of support contract or end of maintenance. We can tell the customer, we can call the customer, we can contact the customer and say, you need to renew this, or you need to tech refresh this. That's the end of its life. So we use the data for sales purposes like that. And it's really invaluable for NetApp for those purposes.
Yeah, and I think there's an element of it as well that we give friendly pokes every now and then, like,
right,
hey, new ONTAP's out. Hey,
and that too.
You might want to upgrade.
Right.
Hey,
right. Or hey, you're running out of space on this aggregate. Why don't you buy some new disks?
Yeah, you need a new shelf. You're at 98% utilized.
Right. That's right. That's.
What's the future of ActiveIQ look like in a sense? Like, where do we want to take it from here? And tell me about some of the crazy use cases you see people using this thing for.
So ActiveIQ Digital Advisor has been integrated into BlueXP. All of the management tools are going to BlueXP. And we are actually strongly encouraging customers to start accessing ActiveIQ instead of the direct website through BlueXP, because it's the same experience. You don't lose anything. The functionality is literally identical. And in BlueXP, you can, for a long time, ActiveIQ was read-only because we work on telemetry data. But now that we're in BlueXP, the big thing that we've done the last year is we all of a sudden have these read-write use cases. So, for example, there's a widget that says, oh, your firmwares are out of date. You can click a button to update them. There's a new, the thing I'm most excited about is that we just released a software updates workflow in BlueXP, which is combining the power of the upgraded advice of ActiveIQ, so it still has that same great advice about which version of ONTAP you should upgrade to and what the risks are there any blockers and warnings. But before, you would just download a plan and that was the end. You got this great plan, but that was it. But now that we're in BlueXP, you literally, if you're on ONTAP 9, 10 or higher, it goes right into System Manager and bam, you can literally click a button to start the install. And you don't even need to download the ONTAP image or anything, just all of that, since you already had planned the upgrade, we know exactly what version you're trying to get. So it happens, and when we do real customer test cases, if you look at the time spent by customers, they were telling us they were saving about 90% of the time that used to take to do upgrades. A lot of that is the old downloading the image, putting it somewhere locally, etc. So I'm really proud about that. I think our group did a great job. We worked with the System Manager team and the BlueXP team to get that done. And you'll see more cases like that. I brought up one or two. There's actually 4 of those read-write use cases from ActiveIQ in BlueXP today, and there's more on the way.
That's fantastic. It's one of the things that, even with my home lab at home, I've been wanting to set it up, and we even created like a dummy customer account, DCD Labs or something like that, to be able to put it in. I haven't gotten to the point of putting it into BlueXP yet. And as soon as I was waiting to get past Insight, I knew there were some updates and things coming. So be on the lookout, guys. I'm going to be making some videos, and we'll have some more episodes here of On Air going over some of these things with ActiveIQ. I guess the last question I want to ask you is, beyond BlueXP, can you talk anything about where we're going with UM? Is that your area? Is that thing still hanging around?
It's not my area. So UM is going to be around a long time because the one thing it does really, really well that's irreplaceable is dark site and air-gapped use cases. And so a lot of the functionality of UM is actually now integrated in BlueXP, but again, that's really only useful for people who are not in dark sites.
Correct.
So the version of will continue to be updated and in fact, I just was talking to the main product manager, and they were saying there's a couple new features coming in the next release.
Fantastic.
So it's not dead. But there is a unified alerting functionality coming in October in BlueXP, which is going to get alerts from all the major integrated tools, including Unified Manager. So the alerting function for Unified Manager, System Manager, and ActiveIQ is going to be unified for the first time ever in BlueXP.
Wow.
So I'm not saying you shouldn't use Unified Manager, but if you are not air-gapped or DarkSight or whatever, you probably should be going to BlueXP.
Yeah, because you're going to get the constant updates. You're going to get the constant refreshes of the latest iterations of ActiveIQ
exactly
when it's built into BlueXP like
That's
that.
right. Yep.
Instead of having to deal with an installable, basically.
That's exactly right.
And
It's the beauty of a SaaS product.
Brett, always a pleasure talking with you, man.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of the show.
Thank you. I will. Bye.
All right, take care. All right, guys, we are moving right along. Who have we got next? I'm looking up. There he is. There he is. All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about something that Nick's been wanting to talk about for a long time, and we might take a little bit of extra time to talk about it. So if you're interested in virtualization, not just VMware, notice I said virtualization, stick around, grab a drink, because this is going to be fun. I have an interesting guest that I haven't had a chance to hang out with too much yet. He is based in the Netherlands, I believe. Is that correct? Yep.
Correct.
Mr. Richard Van Dantzig. Thank you very much for joining the show. Yet another A-Team member representing here at the show.
I can join this interview. So, really happy to be here.
Yeah. So, we just came out of VMware Explore about 3 to 4 weeks ago, right? Throughout the year, we've been dealing with a little bit of the fallout of the Broadcom takeover of VMware. And there have been some pricing changes. There have been people kind of freaking out a little bit about what to do about it because the prices went up and all of that. NetApp's position is, one, we will always be Switzerland to all solutions. We serve NFS to everybody equally, right?
Yeah.
And other protocols. But on the other side of it, we have the ability to be extremely efficient and diligent with how we serve storage to any of these platforms, which can be incredibly cost-saving when it comes down to it. So I'm curious to hear, especially coming from Europe, like what is the temperature of the room over in Europe when it comes to virtualization in general? Are people kind of sticking with VMware, or are you seeing and hearing that other alternatives are being explored?
I'm now about 20 years in the virtualization, so really coming back to VMware in 2004, the first project. And working for now 4 years for ITQ, one of the biggest VMware partners in Europe. And yeah, it was a really extreme year for us. We went all in on VMware, I think about 10, 12 years ago as ITQ. And things are changing. The acquisition took a really long time. Even VMworld last year was VMware Explore last year.
Yeah,
I always call it VMworld.
Yes,
I always
still
do it.
It will always be VMworld to me.
Yeah, last year it was already what will happen and when will it happen.
Yeah,
and then November hits, and all stopped. Broadcom just took it slow, made the decisions, but wasn't really pushing what plans are. So for us, it's also important that we know, virtualization is broad, not only VMware, but there are so many different hypervisors or solutions in there. So we are really looking also into solutions on the cloud native space. So Red Hat, SUSE, that kind of things, but also Nutanix. The virtualization market is broad, and I think that is the only way forward to be agnostic for our customers. Because that's the business is all. We are here to boost business and not just.
So even being one of VMware's top partners in Europe, you're still even that business, you're having to look at alternatives to offer your customers because of some of these changes that have been made. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So we went, of course, all in on VCF in the last years. So we have a really good point now where we can use the acceleration of Broadcom on VCF, but there's more. And especially products from like NetApp which are agnostic to hypervisors, can help us solve the issues for our customers and make that not stick, not fixed in stone for the moment.
Well, I do have a bit of breaking news that I can share. And so I'll set this up by saying about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, I went out exploring to see could we really garner some interest from some of these alternatives. And one of the things that I did was I went to the Proxmox virtualization engine, Proxmox VE or PVE, went to their forums, and I went to the Proxmox subreddit and put up a pretty lengthy post on both of them saying, "Hi, we're NetApp. How can we help?" And because of that attitude, if you take things back 15 years, we always supported Zen server. We always supported Rev. Rest in peace, Rev. I miss you. Come back. We always we had great support for Hyper-V as it came up in the early 2010s, and of course VMware. We had a small army of about 10 to 12 people at NetApp that did all of the virtualization solutions, wrote the best practices, all of that stuff, did all of the testing, performance testing, and all that for all of the hypervisors. It dwindled down over time. So I am on a mission to sort of bring some of that back myself. So the bit of breaking news that I have for everybody is not only is Proxmox VE now officially on the interoperability matrix, or the IMT, at NetApp for NFS, Fiber Channel, and iSCSI. That's one. Two, it is now in, you can go to docs.netapp.com, and you will find some official documentation and some guided steps on how to configure a NetApp storage system with Proxmox VE. Yeah, so we had to get those. We got through those this summer. This was the first really big step, in my opinion, to begin to support an additional hypervisor. And I think Proxmox, most people don't know that it's been around since 2005. It's been around almost as long as VMware has. It's just been such a smaller market. I think they're based in Austria, if I remember, Vienna, if I remember right. Yeah. And they've got a few thousand customers, right? But they're all open source. They put all of their solutions out there. Very small crew supporting it. I just see it as potentially one that could make a huge splash.
Yeah, at Proxmox, it's a really nice virtualization platform that's already out there much. A lot of people are experimenting at the moment with it because it's an alternative. I think it's now still lagging behind on enterprise support. Business hour support is okay-ish, but not like the whole support team for VMware or Microsoft.
Now, from what I understand, they are working on that. I think they're trying to build up a bit of a call center and have an offering with quick support and things like that. And even though it is an open source tool, much like Red Hat used to do back in the day for RHEL, you can pay like a per host support. I think it's maybe about $100 per node or something like that to be able to call in and get support on anything you might be having trouble with. Check the website for. Don't quote me on any of that stuff, guys.
No, we're really going to look into those docs because I think it's helpful for our customers who are now POCing or testing alternatives.
Yeah, we definitely have. There's more work to do. It is by no means complete, right? But we definitely want to get the ball rolling. And since our docs are Git-based, we can iterate on those and update those as we find new things. The important thing to take away is one of the things that were communicated to me on the forums by the staff over at Proxmox was that they are rebuilding their entire storage plugin API from the ground up, and that's in progress. I think they just started it in July, if I remember right. So that's going to be huge because it gives us the potential in the future, once they complete that work, to not only maybe contribute to some of that, but also bring things like the OTV or the ONTAP tools potentially for Proxmox. So maybe we have OTP or OTP-VE in the future. Not promising anything, I'm speculating, but I think it opens up the door for that to really be an alternative hypervisor for people. I'm curious, have you seen much more? We haven't seen much uptake in the US on alternatives like that. Mostly it's around OpenShift, virtualization, and mostly it's around, what's the other one I'm thinking of? Hyper-V. People are leaning back into Hyper-V.
Or Azure Stack as alternative for the...
Yeah, the Azure Stack HCI stuff.
Yeah, we see that also. A lot of companies are looking into it. Do I really see decisions made at the moment? No. Most companies have long-term license agreements with Broadcom, for instance, and yeah, they are waiting what will happen when the storm slows down.
While they're waiting that out, are they evaluating these alternatives on the side just to see? Do you ever hear of companies that are sort of moving away from virtualization altogether and looking at refactoring workloads into container-based and running them in the cloud as an alternative?
Yeah, at IQ we have a really big cloud-native department who was helping our customers on the cloud-native side of things. So they was really based on the Tanzu stack, but they're also expanding to different vendors. What you see is that customers want to do it, but often the application vendors are lagging behind because not every application can be refactored into a container.
Right.
So I personally believe that there will always be a mix of traditional workloads and modern workloads, and that will need to be consolidated on the platform that is secure, that is available, that is performant. Yeah, you need to have some in the layer that combines it all, and that can be VMware. But I think one of the major points is where do you leave the data?
Yeah,
and that's why I'm here.
Yeah,
NetApp Insight.
Well, there's no better storage for virtualization in VMware than NetApp, honestly. Yeah. And the ironic backstory of that is it kind of caught us by surprise at how efficient, especially once we got vSphere 4 with NFS and we got 10 gig Ethernet from Cisco with the Nexus switches. Wow, everything sort of lit up all of a sudden, and then deduplication came in.
I was really lucky. I started my career with VMware and NetApp almost at the same time.
Oh, nice.
So, and we had a pretty fixed architecture, what we delivered to our customers, and that was always VMware with NetApp underneath. Yeah, so that combination has always been gold for me. And I think I really hope for Broadcom and VMware and for all the customers that will also stay for longer, because it is really a good solution. But if it doesn't, yeah, NetApp has the best cards in hand at the moment to be the platform underneath everything.
Do you think some of the things that have been announced this week will affect virtualization, whether it's VMware or other? The disaggregated storage platforms, anything to do with the AI that's going to drive people into or out of virtualization? What are your thoughts around that?
I think that AI is really the big game changer at the moment, because workloads are now being developed, or the tooling is being developed at the moment, and those tooling and those workloads will be cloud native by de facto standard. So there will be much more a platform for not so much for virtual machines, but for containers or modern apps. I think that will be a real game changer, and I see there will always be some parts left, especially for legacy applications in our hospitals or on our government, that will have a long-term relationship with virtual machine workloads, like we have done for the last 25 years.
Yeah. I look at some of the ways that AI might help people be more efficient and reduce the number of VMs or the sprawl, or be able to help evaluate some of that stuff. And maybe you can consolidate certain things down into maybe less VMs but larger VMs, or maybe you want to scale them out automatically and scale them back down. I think there's going to be some mechanisms that AI is going to bring to the table, maybe some additional utilities or just utility in general that you could sort of resize the size of your virtual environment. And in combination with some containerization, you can really modernize an infrastructure really quickly, which would have a big effect on reducing the overall cost of your virtualization footprint.
Yeah, what a big advantage is with AI, it is less objective.
Yeah.
So we are all human from nature. We have our own thoughts, history with products and platforms that will always stay in. So maybe it's good if an AI just gets objective into the situation and says, yeah, I know it's really nice to have all those different platforms, but hey, let's consolidate to this. maybe it helps.
It'd be interesting to see if VMware implemented a sort of Copilot-like AI inside of vCenter, for example, that maybe would give you suggestions, almost like Clippy in Microsoft Office, right? It would give you suggestions about how to resize your infrastructure, right?
Yeah, at IQ we have our own Einstein.
Nice.
It's our own work with all information gathered for all the consultants at IQ, because that's where the knowledge is.
Yeah.
And we are really getting used to using it just to have some simple questions or have customers ask questions. They are now requesting consultants.
There you go.
So it's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a side project from Johan van Amersfoort at IQ. Yeah. It's really good. It's cool to be in this time of IT.
Well, Richard, thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate the conversation. I feel like I could talk about this for another hour with you, but we got to get going. We got to get moving. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
See ya.
Guys, we're moving right along to our next guest. There is so much more to talk about when it comes to virtualization. I feel like I could just run my mouth about it endlessly. Just to recap really quick, yes, Proxmox, as of this past week, is now officially supported across NFS, iSCSI, and Fiber Channel. And it is on the IMT for support, so you can get support if you're hooking it up to your NetApp systems. You can also look up the documentation on docs.netapp.com for Proxmox VE. Just search for that. If you can go to the Proxmox subreddit and leave your feedback, or leave it right directly on docs.netapp.com, or come find me on Discord and leave your feedback for me there. Anything we can do, trust me, we are working on more. We needed to get those first steps out even before that. All righty. Moving right along, we have another guest who is another A-Team member.
You know my
who
name?
I wanted to highlight. His name is Judson. I'm going to take a shot. Weinsheimer.
So technically the H is silent for some reason. So Weinsheimer.
Weinsheimer.
Look, I don't know. I didn't make it up. I'm just living with it.
So Judson, you're from ePlus? Is that accurate?
Yes, ePlus Technologies. We are VAR partner integrator, headquartered out of Northern Virginia.
Yep.
But we're basically nationwide with a presence in like England and some parts out east as well. So
nice. So I had on the list today to talk to you about storage as a service.
Yes.
Is that something that you still really are feeling passionate about?
So I think it's passionate's a good word.
Yeah.
But it's really about balancing the use case. Some people are very passionate and they go out and push something that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But for a lot of customers, storage as a service does make a lot of sense, right? And so when the environment and the use case lines up, it's very easy to be passionate for that kind of sort of service and scalability and flexibility that SaaS can bring.
So we had Glenn and David, your colleagues and peers in the A-Team, on earlier discussing Equinix Metal and how David's company has taken advantage of that. How would you define storage as a service just in general, and like what's some of the things that people should be on the lookout for, any gotchas or something when they're considering making the shift from that traditional 3-year refresh to a more pay-as-you-go model?
So from my perspective as a partner, a lot of what we do is ensuring success of a customer, right? With NetApp and ONTAP, it's fantastic because you have so many knobs that you can turn,
right?
And you have all these different performance levels you can get out of the array and out of the hardware. So it's very easy to over-architect a SaaS solution via Keystone, right? If I look at the portfolio of what ONTAP can run on, it can run the smallest workload to the fastest workload. So it's easy to come in and sort of micromanage all these different service levels. Part of what we do is try and look at a customer's environment and say, hey, can we sort of collapse this sort of add simplicity to the solution and say, okay, instead of having like 4 service levels, can we go down to 2? Right, because it's going to be a lot easier for the customer to manage that ecosystem and better understand where their data is going when they don't have to nitpick it. So when you look at Keystone and storage as a service, part of the value there is the ease of execution of that. It's saying, hey, I need X TIBs for X workload, give it to me, done, right? I don't have to worry about it. And so the less concern and over death by analysis, right? The more that we can eliminate from the process, the easier it is for a customer to go out and execute on that.
Well, you said evaluate. Walk me through ePlus's sort of motions when it comes to storage as a service. Like, how do you go walk into a customer and make a determination of whether or not to suggest maybe storage as a service is right for them?
So from an initial get-go perspective, it's really about understanding the customer's environment, right? It's easy for me as an engineer to go in and be like, oh, you want this box or you want this box, right? But if I don't have a keen understanding of where the customer is now and where they're going in the future, and I'll get back to that in a second, it's really hard to sort of position the right kind of solution. A lot of customers don't know where they're going, right? They have a certain amount of data, and their data between year 2, year 3, year 4, and then even further out is pure conjecture at this point, right? They might have an application that comes out. They might have a new workload. There's a lot of talk today about AI, right? If they decide to get an AI, they're going to have these massive data sets that they got to build, and so it's really hard to balance that. So the first thing is customer, what's your growth look like, right? Is it something where I'm going to be stable over the next couple years? Well, then, hey, a CapEx purchase might just be the easiest way, right? Because you don't have to worry about it. But if they are growing, if it is very dynamic, if it is multi-locational, something like storage as a service where you're actually building that out across, flexible service levels and consumption makes a lot more sense.
I always look at it, I think the last time I talked with a very, very large customer and we did a full-day EBC with them, it was my turn to get up and speak, and they had gotten the dog and pony show. They had seen all of our latest updates from all of our product managers, and at the end, sort of my purpose in the conversation was, where are you trying to go? Where do you want to be?
Yeah.
And so I literally went up to the whiteboard and I drew a vertical line and I said, end. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, describe what this end state looks like for me. And once they describe that, then we can sort of architect backwards the steps that it's going to take them to get there based on where they are. And we have all kinds of evaluation tools to help, kind of determine where they're at.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys do as well.
Yeah. So, we do a lot using Cloud Insights, the tool that you provide, because it's able to go out there and look at multiple storage sources and really build out the solutions and gather data performance across multiple arrays and sort of tie that back to an application, tie it back to a volume, or depending on how granular what you want to get. Other customers, it's a relatively simplistic environment, but it's still a matter of, hey, can I pull up their data? And it's painful, but it pays off. Let me go line by line on this volume. What does this volume do? Oh, it does this? Cool. This would be a perfect fit for this. And then this one over there. So honestly, it varies depending on the complexity of the customer's environment. But we can, whether it's small or large, we're able to sort of tackle that.
I guess I'm just curious where you stand personally as an engineer. Like, do you enjoy working in storage as a service type environments where they're kind of handed off in a way, or I'm old school. I'm an infrastructure dinosaur, man. Like I want to touch metal. I want to cable things up and bring them to life in an ecosystem where they're all talking to each other. There's an art form to that. Yeah. Guys like you and me, like that's our bread and butter. I guess where I'm saying is, like, do you feel disappointed when you have to sort of just write down requirements instead of actually plugging cables in and turning servers on?
No. So there's a lot more to it, right? If I'm having a C-level discussion, it is very turnkey. But when you're working with the engineers, there's a lot more to storage as a service, right? Yeah. So as part of Keystone, NetApp comes in and does the initial install. After that, right, whether it's setting up advanced security, replicating workloads into the environment, integrating them into the cloud solutions, all that comes back to us as the partner. So there is still a lot that we do where it is, okay, you did the heavy lifting, you saved my back, I don't have to throw anything on the shelf. Right. But now I get all to do cool stuff where I integrate that solution into the customer's environment. We also do first call support for NetApp arrays, as well as full managed services. And managed services is an option. Right, I have some customers where it's like, look, I only have 2 or 3 guys. They're getting pulled 6 ways to Sunday. They don't have the time to go out there and be like, hey, I got to manage this array. Yeah. But I have other customers who are like, dude, I want to be in the system every day. I am happy with that. So there's a fit for every customer depending on where they are from a resource and scale perspective.
Yeah, is this something as simple as like remote hands, or is this more of like hands-on configuring the system? And
whatever you need, right? That's
okay.
I think that's so I'm ex-NetApp. right? Now I am at ePlus, and I think being on the partner side allows me to really meet some of those customer challenges across the board, right?
Yeah.
I see small customers, big customers, customers who are like fantastic experts, and I see customers who are just scratching their head, right? And I'm able to come in and really build a solution no matter where they are in their journey.
Right. Well, Judson, thank you so much for the time, man. I really appreciate you hanging out with me for a few minutes, geeking out about some storage as a service. And excited about any of the new Keystone announcements that are out there?
So Cloud Insights being integrated as part of that is going to be good. It's Digital Infrastructure Insights.
Digital Infrastructure Insights now.
Okay,
yeah.
right. It is. It is a fantastic tool. I've been a big fan since I first heard about it. Insight maybe 5 years ago. There's a lot of power to that solution, and being able to bring that to the customer as part of a SaaS contract and environment is going to be a great uplift to that product and service. So
fantastic.
Cool.
Justin, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, all. Have a good day.
All right. All right, guys, moving on. Oh, this guy.
This guy. How's
this
it going,
guy.
man?
All right, I have no idea what we're going to talk about with this guy yet, but we're going to talk about some fun stuff.
Backup. You know what that is? The Backup Ninja.
Oh, the Backup Ninja. As he is affectionately known, that is true. Kevin, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, Nick. How about you?
I'm good. I was actually about to text super producer Drew over there to go find me an Adam Bergh or somebody that does backups, and you just manifest out of thin air.
You know, it's what happens. You know, it's almost like Beetlejuice.
Right?
You say it too many times, and we're just going to show up.
Well, it's ironic that you say it that way, because one thing we have not said this entire week on this show is backups. And I feel something manifested just now where you just came out of nowhere, and it made me think about backups. So let's talk about backups.
I'd love to. You know, it touches every aspect of the business.
It is so foundational to everything, yet so important to everything, from being able to recover a user file to completely recover an entire site from a ransomware attack. It literally touches everything, as you said. Give me your state of the union of where things are at right now, if you don't mind. And like, just big pictures. Doesn't have to be any crazy.
Oh no, it's exciting. Oh my gosh, is because there's so much.
Yeah.
I mean, when you start talking about all of these features, functionalities being built into an operating system, as opposed, yes, you can bolt on, but there's challenges, there's difficulties that come with that. So when you start looking at being able to back up, or, you know, for starters, just take copies of data, replicate them, perform failover back and forth, set up archives off of that, running that to a secure cyber vault. I mean, all of this built in, point, click, done.
So what do you, I'm glad you said Cyber Vault. We talked about that a lot with Matt Trudwin previously.
Absolutely.
Back in May when we launched the new systems and everything. And then I think we talked about it more on further episodes, but like, where does Cyber Vault differentiate itself from our traditional just flex and snap words of the ways that we would take care of some of those things?
Oh, well, one of the first things is, let's think about this from, well, threat landscape. Ransomware, bad actors, people will get ticked off because something didn't go right for them. What do? They go to delete the copies. They want to go get rid of backups. They want to get rid of snapshots. Whatever they can do to get rid of the extra data or ways you recover your data, that is what gets removed first. This is just, I mean, it's built into ransomware as a service even. It's crazy. So if you can lock away a gold copy of your data for when that time hits, for when you're infiltrated, somebody gets ticked off, you've got to be able to ensure you've got a gold copy of the data. Now, ironically, we're talking about Cyber Vault here like it's something new. Funny thing is, we've been doing this... I mean, we're talking decades.
So full disclosure, I was using SnapLock in 2008 because we were a healthcare company and we had to keep copies of our database around for 15 years.
Imagine that.
Because of regulations and stuff like that. Anyway, no, so just to be clear, Cyber Vault is not a box.
No.
Right?
It's a reference architecture.
It's a reference architecture that we have custom tailored to ensure maximum amount of resiliency for any sort of backups, right?
Precisely. The idea of this is, when you look at ONTAP, it's a pool of resources that we give to a customer with which they can deploy the way their business dictates.
Yes.
Precisely the same thing with the Cyber Vault. They need to be able to protect their data and guarantee that it is recoverable the way their business dictates, not the way some vendor tells them, thou shalt lock it this way.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
So, I mean, how often do we see that in other spaces where you can only do it the way the infrastructure allows?
Right.
So give them the options, the ways to do it. And so with that reference architecture, customers aren't alone. They have a document, or they have directions, if you will, a map, so that they can deploy this the way they need to.
I look at this as how I just had a thought in my head and I blanked a little bit. Cyber Vault to me is one of those things where we can't sell you a Cyber Vault, a thing, right? But you already have all of the things you need to architect one in the ONTAP One license stack. If you have an ONTAP One license stack, that means you also have a box or multiple boxes that are storing your data already. You already have everything you need to make a site. This goes back to some of the early days of FlexPod, Kevin, if you remember that. Like, we had a lot of customers at the time that they had Cisco UCS, they had NetApp storage, they had Cisco switches. You have a FlexPod. And then we started, sort of purpose selling them. I think there is a point in time where we could get to productizing this in a way that we could deliver a single point solution like that.
Oh, it
I
could.
don't know that that's the right way to go forward with it. We certainly could. If we were another 3-letter company, we might do something like that. But I think at the end of the day, like, our customers are smart enough, they're engineering enough, they have all the tools that they need to put stuff like this together. What's next for Cyber Vault, I guess is what I would say. Beyond Cyber Vault, where do we go from here? Or have we solved all the world's backup problems?
Well, we're always going to have new backup problems, so there's always going to be something because everybody wants to get rid of them. But I'd like to challenge you with a art of the possible curiosity that I have.
Okay.
So we're talking about a reference architecture, right? It could get rather technical, but let's take this in a business direction first, or for a moment. What if you were to take this reference architecture, take it to your, call it, cyber insurance company, have them validate this? Hey, we've got guaranteed recovery. Think maybe you could get a break on your cyber insurance? I mean, this now becomes a financial conversation, not just a technical conversation. So
how prolific, I just thought of something. How prevalent, does every company have cyber attack insurance at this point? Like, what percentage of companies are you seeing out there that are actually investing in this kind of stuff?
It's almost becoming a necessity, because reality is this is no longer a matter of if we get hit. This is a reality. We will all experience some form of ransomware, whether it's in our business or in our personal life. Think about how many people have fallen prey to text scams or phishing, all of this. It's all out there. So reality is we need to apply these concepts not just in our business, but we need to apply this in our daily lives.
Yeah.
It's fun stuff. At
the end of the day, I think Cyber Vault's really cool. I guess I could say I was doing Cyber Vault back in the late 2000s. We would snap mirror to a secondary, and then we would snap vault from the secondary to a snap vault secondary, and then that snap vault secondary basically moved it into a snap locked volume, a worm volume.
The word which we shall not say anymore, lock vault.
Well, I mean, it's better than the old Legato CDs we used to use. Who remembers that junk, right? Yay, TSM.
Yay! No, that's back when the backup guys, they were still down in the basement, in the dark where the mushrooms grow. Yes, I was down there. Yeah. And then we only got to come out when the restore was needed. We come out, do your restore, boom, boom, boom. You get your 15 seconds of fame, get back in your hole.
Get back in your hole. Yeah. Which I was more than happy to do. I liked being in the cold aisle. So I would just hang out in the data center all day. That's fine. It's probably why I have hearing problems at this point.
No.
Yeah.
It's the little things.
Kevin, it's a blast hanging out with you, chat with you, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for stopping by. Surprise visit as well for Mr. Hastcoat.
So
Backup Ninja himself.
Take care, Nick.
Take care, Kevin. All right, guys. We're getting close. We're getting close to wrapping up. We got a couple more. We're bringing in some surprises here last minute as we switch things around a little bit. I had super producer Drew go and fetch me someone that I could not do this show without having a conversation with.
Hello, my friend.
OG A-Team #1, Mr. Adam Bergh.
Oh, man, I'm so happy to be here. This week has been like a family reunion. I mean, this truly is. When we talk about NetApp, and NetApp Insight, I think it's more than just a technology company, and NetApp Insight is more than just a technology conference. It is truly a meeting of the minds of people coming together like a family. That's what I love about this conference and why this has always been my favorite tech conference. You know, I go to them all, right?
Yeah.
You go to them all. I see you there at the other tech conferences.
I live here now, and they're all here.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, this one here, I've had a smile on my face since the moment I got here.
My jaw hurts.
My jaw hurts from smiling. I love NetApp Insight. NetApp had killed it this year, absolutely killed it this year. Not only just the announcements and all the cool tech stuff, but just the environment, the energy. We've been talking about customer experience, customer and partner experience. It really shows that NetApp cares, right? I went to another tech conference, just maybe a month ago, and the experience was totally different.
Yes. I heard many tales of that. I will say that was the first one I've missed since 2010.
Yeah, I don't want to name names, but you could probably guess which one.
Carry the two, about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's right. And NetApp is blown me away this year. This is one of the best insights I've ever attended. So thanks for having me.
So what are you up to? So 2 things. One, I want to talk about what you've been up to lately in a minute. Talk to me about as the number one A-team designee.
Appreciate that.
But what I mean by that is he was the first selection that we made back in 2012, I think it was.
I believe so,
when we started this.
Well, you're dating me,
Yeah, this program's been going on a while. How have you seen the evolution of the A-team? And what would you say to people that were interested in joining as what they should expect as joining the A-team?
Yeah, so just to kind of give a little bit of background, like how this came about, right? There was already a community that was out there on their own, blogging, talking, doing social media, just building our own community around our love for NetApp technologies. And that's, NetApp found us, right? And they said, let's put a formal wrapper around this. We'll call it the NetApp A-team. These are the people that are actively already talking about NetApp, forming their own community. Let's make it more formal. Let's give these guys better access.
Yeah.
Earlier information on what we're doing from a roadmap. Bring them closer to our product management teams. Have them give their direct feedback back into our teams and really influence the roadmap within NetApp. And that's been amazing, right? And the community has just grown. The A-team has gone from just a handful of people now to, I think it's over 40 members now, right?
I think if you include all of the tech advisors, we're 60s at this point.
It's unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
And the community, as the community gets larger, we have not just partners in there, we got customers now, right? So, partners have one experience, customers have another experience, and it really becomes an information sharing community with each other. And we're able to provide better feedback back into NetApp, and they really take it to heart. This is not they actually listen to us. We've seen the things that we've suggested back into NetApp actually influence the roadmap, and you see it even today, with all the technology announcements. It's like some of the things we were talking about, with NetApp years ago are finally here, and we know that we've helped nudge NetApp in the right direction with some of those technologies.
I heard Mackie say it before the show, disaggregated storage. Yes, it's finally here.
Yeah, we've been talking about that for a while, right?
More than a decade we've been talking about that.
Yeah, we were just mentioning.
We had that whole cluster mode thing we had to get past first, right?
Exactly.
Now we can do it.
That was a fun conversation. When was the first time we started talking to NetApp about this? It's fun to see it on main stage this year as reality. So for the people out there that are familiar with the NetApp A-team, if you think you might be, a right kind of person for the NetApp A-team, I mean, you gotta be out there talking about NetApp. You gotta show your love, and we'll find you, right?
It's simple advocacy at the end of the day, right?
It is, right? But we do it out of a true passion for technology, best of breed technologies, right? NetApp brings it. I mean, they really bring it, and that shows with the community that's here at NetApp Insight. These are passionate people. They're not here, out of obligation. They're here because they want to be here.
Yeah.
And they're passionate about what we do as infrastructure people, as data people, as data scientists, as the next generation of AI people come into the fold. The conversations change. And the community gets larger, and we talk about new capabilities and new workloads that are possible by NetApp. One of the most amazing conversations that we're having this year is bringing AI, onto the data, or running, connecting, getting the AI really close to the data as it resides on ONTAP, right? Where you maintain the governance and the security around that data. That's a really powerful message. I talk that every day, right? If you don't know me, I work, for a data protection company,
I was
right?
gonna
We
say,
talk about
you work
I
for
work
Veeam.
Veeam software.
Yeah. We had Rickatron on the show about a couple months ago.
So
right after you guys had Veeam on.
It's all about cyber resiliency. The conversations we're having now are increasingly around cyber regulation. There's real teeth to regulation out there around cybersecurity, and what Veeam has to provide, right, is helping organizations maintain compliance and governance around that data, being able to provide actionable intelligence. We've got our own AI-powered capabilities on our platform that in many ways complement what NetApp is doing, right? We talk about cybersecurity, cyber resiliency as a team sport. No one has a monopoly on cyber resiliency and security. As a company, it requires integrated solutions, partnered solutions. It requires our partners, right, that are here in force to put these solutions together to understand how the end-to-end works, right, from a cyber resiliency standpoint. NetApp, as a core data infrastructure piece, Veeam software as a resiliency player, as a secondary storage management tool. We've got our own AI and ransomware capabilities put in there. We orchestrate, and we integrate with all the great NetApp capabilities like SnapShot, SnapMirror, SnapVault. All of those capabilities are integrated into the Veeam platform, right? So it's a true team sport when we talk cyber resiliency, and that's I'm passionate about that. We talk about that every day. It's really fun.
I love it. One of my favorite tools that I use myself, I use the Windows agent, the Veeam Windows agent, on all my PCs, and I back it up to my NetApp at home. It's one of the greatest ways to get your sort of feet wet into learning Veeam, learning how to use it with storage. You just put it on put it on a demo PC and try it out before you want to make the full jump up into backup and recovery.
Yeah, and Veeam and NetApp are pretty similar. We're very community driven. We give a lot of stuff away for free, right? And that builds similarly passionate people about our joint technologies. And that's kind of cool being in this community, right? There's a lot of like-minded people in the Veeam community and in the NetApp community, and our technologies complement each other. They integrate with each other. And we're out there at the end of the day protecting a lot of organizations, right? Maintaining, keeping businesses running, keeping, we talk about, 100% uptime, right? That's the goal. And how do we achieve that? And partnering with NetApp has been a pleasure over the years. And so happy to be here.
Awesome. Adam, it's always good to chat with you, man. Thanks for jumping in last minute here. I saw OG1 walking around a little bit ago. Not the OG1 from Discord. Sorry, that different one. OG A-Team member number 1 right here, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Adam Bergh. Adam, thank you so much for joining me, man.
It's been exciting, man. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to finishing out NetApp Insight, and I'm hoping back next year, man. I wouldn't want to miss this again next year.
We're going to do it even bigger next year.
Yeah, can't
wait.
Thanks,
Take care, Adam. Thank you, man. All right, guys, we are wrapping up here at the end of the show. We got one more little surprise for you. One more little treat. I thought the best way to end today's show would be to end it as a pair, as a duo. And I think about this. I want to say some special things about this guy first before I put him on camera. I don't think I would be where I am right now. I don't think the community would be where it is right now without this guy. I don't think this show would exist, at least in the capacity that it is right now, without this guy. I don't think I have ever had a better partner in crime or a teammate that has helped me push a lot of these kinds of things forward. So I just want to give him a big shout out right here. He's our community manager at NetApp. His name's Mr. Drew Claybrook. Drew.
Thank you, Nick.
You are my super producer behind the scenes.
We've put a lot together this week. It's really exciting to see how the show's come together, what community we've been able to build here, kind of willing it into existence a little bit. I've got a lot planned. I know you do too. We talk about this all the time. Had a great community warm-up party. I thought it went pretty good. Check out the shirt.
Bezel in the front, party in the back.
And there's a little surprise there if you're really paying attention.
Well, my beard?
Hot aisle and cold aisle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For those that get it. For those that...
If you know, you know.
Yeah. So tell me about your journey into community. I know you joined us... when we first met, you were just jumping into the pandemic. We were just jumping into the pandemic. So we didn't actually get to see each other or hang out for a couple of years, I think.
Yeah. So, I joined NetApp in January of 2020. So I had a couple of short months there to get acclimated to a new office and all that and meet people. That comes after 10 years of being a network engineer with a meteorology degree. So picking up community is still kind of like natural. I like meeting people. I want to bring people together. We've got a lot of really smart people. You've probably seen A-Team shirts if you've been paying attention for several of our guests over the week. Community is all ways that we can interact. Of course, Discord's a big one. NetAppDiscord.com. There's a lot here and more to go.
So tell me a little bit about what you're doing on the forums side of things, because that's almost a dark art in a way.
I have to mention that.
Yeah.
So our community forums, community.netapp.com, is still a thing. We still we need that Google visibility, right?
Yeah.
We have a lot there. A lot of our technical blogs go there, so we've got a lot of our TMEs who write stuff up and post that regularly. A lot of good content went out yesterday after the big announcement. But yeah, hang out there too. There's a lot of questions that we could use help with. I know the community has a broad technical expertise, and if you want to give back, that's the way to do it.
And we're starting to reach into other areas as well. I know we are doing a lot of things here on YouTube. We are also trying to we simulcast a lot of these shows on a weekly basis onto Twitch and LinkedIn as well. So we're trying to find where people are hanging out the most. I'll throw a nod to Reddit. We're trying to we have a very active subreddit for what it's worth. If you guys would prefer to remain anonymous in that context, but I think there's what we've learned. I think over the last 2 or 3 years, especially since when did we launch the Discord in 2021?
Yeah.
I think we've learned a lot in the last 3 years, and it's basically where people are they're gonna find the most of us is hanging out in Discord, but also we also cross over between Reddit and we also cross over between Reddit and the forums and other places, right?
Yeah, I mean it's. I think I said it a second ago. Community is always people can interact with each other, and so Reddit has been a big one. Of course, we've got our Discord, and that's just been a really good spot for us. Just this week, we crossed 5,000 members. That's been a big one for us. Quite a milestone to have run into. I'm really excited. Of course, you made a shout out during the keynote, and we got some alerts.
We saw something new we had never seen before.
Yeah. We got some alerts in Discord.
I had no idea Discord had a raid alert. So for all of you that heard the announcement before we went live with the keynote on Monday afternoon, it was just more of a oh my God, so many people just joined your server in this condensed period of time. Are you sure you're not getting raided kind of alert? So that was fun to experience for the first time. We had never really run into that before.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty big milestone. We officially crossed 5,000 members in Discord.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, and it's been a 3-year grind to get. And hey, I want 10,000 now, guys. Tell your friends.
More.
It's never enough. We want to see all of our NetApp customers in there. We want to see all of our partners in there, especially you solution architect types. It's a very technical audience. We're not spamming you with a bunch of marketing. That is a promise that we will always stay with. Same with this show. We're going to keep it as technical as we possibly can. And any of our communities are some of the best places to go and find any of that kind of technical content out there.
Keep paying attention. Follow us in all the places, of course, YouTube. I mentioned again, netappdiscord.com, or if you're more familiar with it, discord.gg/netapp.
There you go. Well, Drew, we did it.
We did it.
I think we're at the end here. I think we've come to a close. I'm happy to have you up on here on stage with me saying our final goodbyes. I'll show you guys I don't need to open it all up again. Hardware Universe posters are back. Yes, they are back. You can get them, if you're here at the show, you can get them in the expo. If you're not, you can go to NetApp Gear Store online. I think it's netappgearstore.com, I think is the site. Don't quote me on that. And it's like $6, I think, to get a poster shipped to you.
Get a T-shirt with it.
Yeah, you get a T-shirt with it. There you go. They got nice hats. My new hat's sitting over there. All kinds of good stuff over on the NetApp Gear Store. Should we close it out, Drew?
Let's do it.
Thank you guys so much for watching today, for watching the last few days, and for watching every Wednesday NetApp On Air regular episodes. This has been Snapshot, the debut of Snapshot, where we cover the event live from the show floor. And we've done it first here with our own show at NetApp Insight 2024. We're hoping that we can do it more at other events and beyond in the future. My name is Nick Howell. I'm our Global Field CTO here at NetApp, and I'm the host and producer of this show. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube. Make sure you follow us on all the social medias. Shout out to Sophia and the rest of the social team. Love you, ladies. Take care, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.